Trump signs $9 billion rescissions package, cutting foreign aid and NPR funding. Explain. In a bold move that has sparked both applause and outrage, President Donald Trump has officially signed a $9 billion rescissions package into law, effectively reversing federal funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. This decision, backed by Congress after months of political maneuvering, marks a significant shift in how the U.S. allocates taxpayer dollars, and it's already dividing opinions across the political spectrum. But here's where it gets controversial. Critics argue this isn't just about saving money. It's about reshaping America's global influence, and the consequences could ripple far beyond Washington. Let's break it down. The package targets nearly $8 billion in funds initially approved for the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, an organization long criticized by the Trump administration for not aligning with U.S. strategic interests. USAID, which historically provided humanitarian aid and development support to impoverished nations, has faced budget cuts and staff reductions as the State Department absorbs its operations. Meanwhile, over $1 billion is being stripped from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, the federal entity that funds outlets like NPR and PBS. While the total $9 billion represents a tiny fraction of the U.S. national debt, currently hovering around $36.7 trillion, the symbolic and practical implications are anything but small. Senate Majority Leader John Thune hailed the move as a necessary step to combat waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending, calling it a small but important step toward fiscal sanity. Yet Democrats are pushing back hard. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer warned that slashing foreign aid creates a dangerous vacuum that China and Russia could exploit, arguing that such cuts risk national security and endanger critical programs like healthcare and food assistance. They're letting Donald Trump decide which programs to defund, Schumer said, emphasizing the partisan divide. And this is the part most people miss. Rescissions, tools that allow the government to reclaim already approved funds, are rare and legally complex. The last time Congress passed a rescissions package was in 1999, and Trump's 2018 attempt failed due to bipartisan opposition. This time, however, Senate Republicans narrowly pushed it through with a 51-48 vote despite bipartisan resistance from Senator Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. But is this a fiscally responsible correction or a dangerous precedent that could destabilize bipartisan budget negotiations? The debate is far from over. As the nation grapples with trillion-dollar deficits and global power shifts, one question lingers. Should the president have unilateral power to rewrite Congress' spending decisions? We want to hear your take. Drop a comment below and let us know if you think this move is a smart fiscal choice or a risky gamble with America's global role. Federal cuts threaten local nonprofit broadcasters in East Tennessee. What happens when the lifeline for local news is suddenly cut? Imagine a world where your go-to source for community updates, educational content, and cultural programming suddenly loses 20% or more of its funding overnight. That's the reality for nonprofit broadcasters in East Tennessee, and the ripple effects are shaking the heart of public media. But here's where it gets controversial. These cuts aren't just about budgets. They're about who you decide what stories are told in your own backyard. And this is the part most people miss. The federal funding slashed by Congress isn't just a line item. It's the backbone of programs that serve schools, rural communities, and even emergency alerts. Let's unpack why this matters. The recent $9 billion federal budget cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, have thrown local stations like East Tennessee PBS and radio outlet WDVX into a tailspin. For context, the CPB isn't just a handout. It's a critical partner for stations that bring you everything from kids' educational shows to live coverage of regional emergencies. Take East Tennessee PBS. They've lost 27% of their funding, a chunk that directly funds programs like the Scholars Bowl and partnerships with Title III schools serving low-income students. We're not just about TV shows, explains CEO Ricky Lawson. We're connecting parents and teachers to free resources like PBS Kids, tools that might vanish if these cuts stick. And here's the kicker. While national networks like PBF might survive, local stations are set on the brink. Many rely on CPB dollars to stay afloat, especially in rural areas where internet access is spotty and traditional media is the only game in town. We're a lifeline for public safety too, Lawson adds. During floods or wildfires, we partner with SEMA, Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to deliver urgent updates. If we go dark, so does that safety net. But it's not just about emergencies. Independent radio station WDVX, known for launching careers of artists like Chris Stapleton and Tyler Childers, is also reeling. Their signature program, the Blue Plague Special, has been a springboard for regional talent and a cultural cornerstone. Those artists started right here in Knoxville, says founder Tony Lawson. Without CPB funding, we'd lose our ability to spotlight these voices and boost local tourism and economic growth. Now both stations are turning to their communities for help. We're at our viewers' mercy, admits Lawson, a phrase that hints at a deeper debate. Should public media be left to fend for itself in an age where corporate interests dominate? The cuts hit especially hard because these stations had already been approved for funding through 2024, only to see it yanked away. For WDVX, that means a nearly 20% budget slash, or about $100,000 in savings next year. So what's the takeaway? Public broadcasting isn't a luxury, it's a public good. But here's the twist. The cuts come at a time when access to unbiased local journalism is more critical than ever. Should taxpayers support these stations, or should they pivot to private funding models? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment. Do you think these cuts hurt communities more than they help? And if you agree, consider supporting East Tennessee PBS here. www.easttennesseepbs.org/membership or WDVX here at WDVX.com support. After all, saving local media might just save your own story.